Car tester Emmanuel Schaefer tries out the new Opel Ampera E, explaining that the E stands for all electric. So it's fitting to present it in Norway, since this country has more electric vehicles on the roads per capita than any other. And Norway is where the new generation Opel Ampera E first hit the showrooms. Last December, in fact, while it's not due out in Germany, the Netherlands, and Switzerland until next autumn. Norway has been subsidizing electric drive for years, and it's producing results. The goal is that by 2025, none of the new cars registered in this Scandinavian country will have conventional internal combustion engines.
Well, the most important incentive we have in Norway is actually that we tax the fossil cars. So they are heavily taxed, and they also have to pay the value-added tax of 25%. And for zero-emission cars, we have just removed the taxes. This actually makes the zero-emission cars able to compete on price when you buy the car, and this is the strongest incentive we have. We also have local incentives when you use the car. For instance, we have free toll roads, we have free parking, and we have access to bus lanes. So altogether, this makes a very strong incentive package, and people actually choose to buy zero-emission cars and EVs, which is great.
The Ampera E's 150 kilowatt electric motor gives it plenty of power and pickup, carrying the car from 0 to 100 kilometers per hour in 7.3 seconds. But to help increase range, the maximum speed has been capped at 150 kilometers per hour. Emmanuel goes over the Ampera E's two driving modes. One, the normal D, is familiar to drivers of automatic transmissions, while two, the L, bumps up energy recuperation for the electric motor. That also heightens the braking effect when he lets off the accelerator, and he can increase this effect even more with a switch on the steering wheel, enough that the brake lights in back automatically go on. Measured by the new European driving cycle, the Ampera E's 60 kilowatt-hour lithium-ion battery covers a range of up to 520 kilometers and some 380 kilometers on the far more realistic worldwide harmonized light vehicles test procedure. The battery pack's 288 cells are mounted under the floor, saving space and enhancing safety at the same time. It takes only about 30 minutes to charge the equivalent of 150 kilometers at a 50 kilowatt direct current public charging point. At 4.17 meters, the Ampera E is noticeably longer than the BMW i3, but it also offers more space inside. The 10.2-inch monitor can be configured individually, and of course connected to a smartphone, which itself can be recharged through a magnetic inductive charging plate on the console. A special app lets the owner keep an eye on the car, check the charge status, and even preheat or cool the interior in winter or summer. As to be expected of such an innovative car, the Ampera E features a list of useful assists, among them a forward collision alert and front pedestrian braking to limit the severity of collisions with people on the street. A safety sound is also active up to 30 kilometers per hour that alerts pedestrians to the presence of the silent electric car. Emmanuel sums up his impression of the Ampera E. The design may not be as snappy as its predecessor, but that doesn't mean it's boring. He's reminded of the Corsa, especially in its dimensions. But the Ampera is far more spacious inside, and of course, it's free of emissions, which helps ease a green conscience. Germany isn't quite as advanced as Norway when it comes to electric cars, but at least it offers a premium as a buyer's incentive. That starts the Ampera E at around 35,000 euros in Germany. Car tester Matas Kurat says you should really only use a car if you can't get where you're going on foot or by bicycle. But some cars are so much fun to drive that you can't resist the temptation, like the Audi RS3, and it's just had a makeover.
Eines dieser Fahrzeuge ist der Audi RS3 und der kommt jetzt in einer überarbeiteten Version.
The first Audi RS3 came out in 2011. Audi manufactured this 250 kilowatt compact for a year, but then it disappeared from the showrooms. The second generation came in 2015, and now it has been improved. The Audi RS3 is powered by a 5-cylinder inline engine, says Matas. Newly developed, it's noticeably more powerful than its predecessor. The new engine's cubic capacity is still just 2.5 liters, but now it produces 294 kilowatts, 24 kilowatts more than the previous generation. But for RS3 enthusiasts, the sound is just as important as the power. Matas explains that the RS3 sound derives from a special ignition sequence, an alternation between adjacent and distant cylinders firing at the same time. It's most evident when you shift from the standard D drive program to S, and Matas thinks it sounds great. Standard equipment in the RS3 includes a 7-speed dual-clutch transmission and electronically controlled all-wheel drive, which ensures neutral handling and makes the car easy to control, even in extreme situations. In addition to the Audi RS3 Sportback, there is now another body variant, a sedan. Matas asked Stefan Winkelmann, head of the Audi Sport division, why. The first generation RS3 was limited to a Sportback, says Winkelmann. It was very successful, but mostly in Europe. This time Audi wants to appeal to the whole world, so it's added a sedan with an eye to the North American and Asian markets. He predicts a Sportback to sedan sales ratio of 60-40. Gleaming black aerodynamic components in back and front, a gleaming honeycomb, single-frame radiator grille, and big air intakes. Both variants of the RS3 seem to scream racetrack, even when parked. Optional in the interior are the red-rimmed air vents, colored stitching on the steering wheel, and gear shift knob, and Napa leather sport seats. The sedan drives pretty much like the Sportback. Both accelerate equally fast. The top speed of each can be raised from 250 to 280 kilometers an hour, if desired. Matas says due to their different body shapes, the sedan weighs 5 kilos less than the Sportback, and its weight is differently distributed. As a result, the sedan is even more agile than the already very sporty Sportback. But as long as you're driving on public roads, rather than a racetrack, these differences will seldom make a difference. Matas says choosing an Audi RS3 is step number 1. Step 2 is deciding between the sedan and the Sportback. The Sportback's trunk is easier to load, so it's a bit more practical. But Matas thinks the RS3 sedan is really chic, so he'd choose it.
Sehr, sehr schick. Und deswegen würde hier, glaube ich sogar, obwohl der nicht so praktisch ist, meine Wahl auf die RS3 Limousine fallen.
The updated RS3 Sportback and the new RS3 sedan will arrive in car showrooms starting in August. Until then, customers have time to consider which version best suits their needs and desires. BMW's noteworthy concept 8 Series gives the public a preview of the upcoming 8 Series Coupe, due to hit the market in 2018. It rides low and carries lots of power. The combination of a long hood and flowing roofline give it a dynamic look. A distinctive upsweep brings up the rear and gives it yet another sporting touch. An M8 is also in the planning to round off the sporting end of the 8 Series model range. Peugeot is celebrating the market launch of their new 5008. It offers a choice of 3 gasoline-powered and 4 diesel engines ranging from 88 to 133 kilowatts. The Access Basic trim line includes the Active Safety Brake, Reactive Lane Keep Assist, Distance Alert, Speed Limit Sign Recognition, and Adaptive Cruise Control with stop function as standard. The Peugeot 5008 PureTech 130 Access with a 3-cylinder 96 kilowatt engine lists for just under 25,000 euros in Germany. Driven by excellence is Skoda's slogan for the Rapid. The Skoda Rapid has been cruising German streets since 2012. The sedan with the big hatchback is classed as a compact. Car tester Andre Zimmermann says his first impressions of the Rapid are fairly neutral. No great weaknesses or obvious strengths, just a good-natured car. The clutch travel feels a bit long, and the gas pedal responds a bit stiffer than in many cars. That makes sense, says Andre. After all, his driving instructor said a stiff gas pedal saves fuel because the driver is less likely to drive with a lead foot.
Ein bisschen härter machen vom Ansprechverhalten mehr, weil dann hatten auch nicht wirklich Lust, das voll durchzutreten.
But if you do step on it and master the interplay between clutch and gas, you can accelerate from 0 to 100 in under 10 seconds. Skoda rates the Rapid's fuel consumption at 4.5 liters per 100 kilometers. Andre says the engine in the car we're testing is for people who like to take their time on their trips. If you really want pickup, you have to shift fast and get those revs going. As in almost all modern cars, the fuel consumption rating on the new European driving cycle is nearly unachievable. But Andre's moving along at 5.9 liters per 100 kilometers, and he thinks that's quite acceptable. If you want to go faster, it might be best to get the 1.4-liter engine, or even better, one of the diesel variants.
Oder vielleicht sogar ein bisschen besser die Dieselvarianten.
So why has Skoda built a hatchback sedan when the compact class is dominated by boxy hatchbacks, like VW's Golf? Andre says most customers choose the 5-door Spaceback over the sedan, but maybe they should think more about it. The sedan's hatch is larger than you might think, based on the design. The same goes for trunk volume. The sedan offers over 100 liters more stowage space than the Spaceback does. Andre says he expects no less from Skoda. The back seat is roomy enough for adults, and they'll be glad that they can charge their smartphones. There are 2 USB sockets for passengers. There are few visible changes in the Rapid's facelift. The LED daytime running lights have been integrated in the headlamps. New are the low-energy xenon dipped beam headlights and the high beam assistant. The Rapid's interior design is anything but run-of-the-mill. The newest version allows you to stay online, assuming you have a surf stick.
Die Möglichkeit, einen
Andre thinks making it possible to install a wireless LAN hotspot in the Rapid is a good idea. Of course, the driver has little benefit from it, but the passengers do. For example, kids in the back
Auf
seat.
der Rücksitzbank ist das auf jeden Fall eine nette Idee.
The Skoda Rapid, the somewhat different compact. It's for individualists, but primarily for everyone who thinks the Octavia is too big or too expensive.
Der Rapid
Andre says the Rapid is a typical Skoda with solid workmanship and outstanding use of space. No one will complain that he has no room. Its price is lower than its VW competitors, so Andre recommends it for young families.
Eine absolute Empfehlung für junge Familien.
The Rapid's biggest competitor is the Seat Toledo, which is manufactured at the same plant. The Spanish car has air conditioning and rear parking sensors as standard equipment, so the base price is 2,750 euros higher than for the Skoda. But even with these options, the Rapid is still more than 1,000 euros cheaper. Station wagons are versatile, useful, and especially popular as company cars. But families also appreciate their roominess. Korean car maker Kia's biggest station wagon is the Optima SW, short for sports wagon. Its size makes it practical, but it manages to look sporty too. Michelle says Germans love station wagons, especially when coupled with a diesel engine, so she thinks it's a shame Kia offers just one diesel engine for the sports wagon. But the 1.7-liter common rail diesel does its job well. With an output of 104 kilowatts, it propels the Optima SW to a top speed of 200 kilometers per hour. And while it takes the car some 11 seconds to go from 0 to 100, drivers can console themselves that at least it's thrifty. But Michelle says she's stepped on the gas, so her fuel mileage is 7.8 liters per 100 kilometers. Though to be honest, she expected a car this big would use much more. At 4.86 meters, Kia's Optima sports wagon is roughly the same length as a BMW 5 Series Touring or an Audi A6 Avant. The base model Optima SW has a starting price of around 26,000 euros in Germany, and it comes with lots of equipment that many other manufacturers charge extra for. On the outside, the car cuts a good figure. Kia's Optima sports wagon even won a Red Dot Design Award this year, being named Best of the Best in the vehicle design category. This model is also available as a plug-in hybrid. At the back, the most striking feature is the rear diffuser, which emphasizes the vehicle's sporty look. The GT line trim package boasts LED taillights and headlights. This Optima also has an adaptable trunk with pop-up luggage rails that hold cargo in place. In contrast to the exterior, the interior is relatively plain and simple, though in the GT line, a little red stitching here and there peps things up. The sports seats are upholstered with leather. Backseat passengers enjoy generous legroom and headroom. We're testing the Optima with the automatic transmission. Opting for the manual transmission shaves around 2,000 euros off the price. Michelle says the suspension's quite firm until you reach around 130 kilometers an hour. Beyond that, you feel the difference between the Kia and German-made cars in this segment. Then, the suspension's a little spongy. In the GT version, the wagon is a bit sportier. It features electronic controlled suspension, and its 2-liter turbocharged gasoline engine generates 180 kilowatts of power. Michelle says this model will set you back almost 40,000 euros, a hefty price tag for a Kia, but she thinks it's worth it. The materials are good, as are the car's looks, and it offers lots of room, so it's competitive with other cars in its segment. Naturally, the Optima sports wagon comes with Kia's signature front grille, too. For a starting price of 26,000 euros, European buyers get a versatile, spacious, and sporty vehicle. The vice president of the Mazda Motor Corporation has come all the way to Augsburg, Bavaria, so it must be for something pretty big. He's joined a crowd of guests for the dedication of the first Mazda museum outside of Japan. On their own initiative, the Fry family put together a vast private collection of Mazdas. It took them decades. Covering an area of 1,500 square meters, the museum boasts 50 historical models. Markus Fry explains that for 30 years they've been intensively collecting Mazdas from all over the world, from Australia, New Zealand, Japan, America, and Sweden, from all over. Whenever they spotted an interesting offer at a fair price, they snatched it up. The exhibit goes back to the make's very beginnings, exemplified by this 3-wheel motorcycle badged as a GB and conceived as a mini-truck. During the 1950s, the range of Mazda 3-wheelers grew to no less than 30 types with up to 2 tons of load capacity. In May 1960, Mazda's first 4-wheel passenger car rolled off the assembly line, and the company joined the ranks of major Japanese car makers. Markus Fry repeats that this is the only Mazda museum outside Japan. Mazda's parent company in Hiroshima, Japan, has a small museum for prototypes and anniversary editions, but it's nowhere near as comprehensive as this one. So this is unique. Mazda's senior managers have come all the way from Japan, and he believes they're very impressed.
Selbst die Geschäftsleitung von Mazda, wo heute auch da ist, von Japan, die ist, glaube ich, sehr beeindruckt.
I've never seen such families global in Mazda. And I have to offer the great thanks to Fry families for their commitment and investment.
Other guests have arrived from all over the world to attend the dedication ceremony. For their part, the Frys are obviously proud to see their collection presented in a proper setting.
It is amazing. It's absolutely brilliant. It's I love the building itself is incredible.
Race car driver Cindy Aleman sees this hall full of cars and says what they've built is just fabulous. TV personality Det Müller confirms something like this can only be found in Augsburg. It's unique, rare, and wonderful. Among the rarest pieces is the Chantez from the early 1970s. It boasted generous interior space. There's also a Mazda AZ1. It failed to attract many buyers. Back in the economically bumpy 1990s, the gull-wing door concept was simply too extravagant. The Mazda MX-5, on the other hand, was a market success. The coupe version is seen here. Only a small number were made, and only in Japan. The RX-7 was the most successful model to sport a rotary engine. In fact, this one belonged to the rotary engine's inventor, Felix Wankel. Mazda even made long-distance coaches. Markus Fry is hard put to say which is his favorite, pointing out that the Mazda Cosmo is celebrating its 50th birthday, and that's one of his personal favorites. This may well also be one of the world's biggest collections of rotary engines. Mazda tried the concept out in almost everything: sports cars, station wagons, and even pickups. The museum is a must for automotive enthusiasts everywhere.